So on that note, let's get on with things. Let's go on with our bottom 5 films of 2017, of which some of these are absolutely fucking abysmal, at least at my end. So not really a lot for me to say at this point. As I say, all these films, they have to have come out either in UK cinemas or on video on demand between the 1st of January and the 31st of December 2017. So that's all I'm going to say at this point. So, are you ready?
I am. I'm ready.
Okay, so my number 5 worst film of 2017 is a film that I talked about on the last show. It's Dave Made a Maze by Bill Watterson. Now, this is a film that, as I said on that show, it made my teeth itch. I hated it. I hated the characters. I really was not a fan of really how the film looks. Really, the whole style of it is just very Sundancey. It's very poor man's sort of Wes Anderson. And it's just a very annoying film, I've got to say. Now, there are way worse films that have come out this year, but a lot of them are just boring. This is a film that I actually hated. So I appreciate the effort. I wouldn't say, the director is sort of never going to make anything good ever again, but please don't make shit like this ever again. If you want to make a film like this, just make a shitty indie film like Garden State or something like that, and just spare us the horror, because I don't want to have to talk about films like this ever going forward.
Oh my god, that poor director. It was probably his first proper film and you've just slated it for the sake of our podcast. It's not that bad, honestly. People should watch it. I feel bad. Poor Dave and his maze.
Yes.
Okay, so coming in at my number 5 of my least favourite horror films of 2017. It's quite a controversial choice. In fact, I feel like I've been quite spoiled for choice with good movies this year, and I haven't watched so many bad horror films. So some people may hate me for choosing this, but my number 5 is Alien Covenant by Ridley Scott. I feel like it's extremely overrated. I was bored. I think the visual effects and the aliens were amazing, but it by no means lives up to anything that has been in this franchise before. I felt like it was lukewarm. I wasn't really that engaged with it. I've not really seen much of Prometheus, but it's something that I never really wanted to watch because I feel like it just deflects too much away from the genius that is Alien and Aliens. And yeah, I was just distinctly unimpressed and kind of bored with this film. So on the basis that this has a huge budget and so much potential but disappointed me massively and lots of other people that I know, I'm going to put this in as my worst film of the bottom 5. It's coming in at number 5 for me.
Shots fired.
Indeed. Don't hate me.
I was not a fan either. You're not wrong in anything you said.
Greg, you're number 4. Climbing our way up through the shittest films of 2017.
Yes, so my number 4 choice, and you might be surprised as to how high up this is Rings by Francisco Javier Gutierrez. Now, as I mentioned on the mid-year review show that I did, this film is the most pointless sequel of the year. No one asked for a sequel to Ring 2. This has the worst opening scene of any film that I've seen this year. It's so monumentally stupid. The whole film looks sickly and green, which is disgusting. It just looks horrendous. Whoever colour graded this film should be fired out of a cannon. It's so boring. The film is monumentally dull to watch. And yeah, it's just PG-13 horror personified. It's so shit and boring. And the ending is atrocious as well. The ending is absolutely stupid and sets up more Ring films, which hopefully will not happen. Ring should just be, it's a late 90s, early 2000s phenomenon. It should stay there and fuck off from the 2010s.
Going to agree with you on that, Greg. Excellent work there. So I'll take over now with my number 4, which is one of the ones that we discussed on our previous show, which was a summary of the second part of 2017 horror. It's Leatherface. Extremely dull, extremely well shot, It had so much potential. I was kind of excited about seeing this. I was innately disappointed. Please do not shit on Texas Chainsaw Massacre with any more sequels in this franchise. I was so bored watching this. Nothing benefits that franchise from this film. What even was the storyline? I didn't want to know the origin story of this. Hated it, yeah. Just so disappointed. Same as Alien Covenant, really. Massive disappointment. Greg, number 3.
Wow. So, yeah. Leatherface, not a very good film. So on the previous show, I did say that it's a bit unfair sometimes to kind of shit on people who are just making films just a video on demand that are really cheap, and, you know, they're doing the best that they can. However, in this case, I did see a couple of video on demand horror films that were mentioned as particularly bad, and there are one or two of those that I just wanted to big up, if that's the right term. It probably isn't. But I just wanted to make people... Yeah.
Probably little down rather than big up.
Yeah. So at number 3, the film I wanted to discuss is a film called Temple, which is directed by Michael Barrett. So, as I've never discussed it, just a quick synopsis of this one. Basically, it's about a couple and her best friend who go to Japan because they want to visit a temple. And I got to be honest, the film looks great. It's very, very well shot in terms of the way it looks, so the production design, in terms of the cinematography, great. Plot, on the other hand, and the screenwriting is abysmal in this film. It is horrendously bad. Half of the dialogue is in Japanese, so I can't comment on whether the dialogue in Japanese is bad, but the dialogue in English is atrocious. Like, literally, people say things that people would never say in real life because it's implied. The film is only 75 minutes long. The last 15 minutes of it makes no sense whatsoever. I couldn't tell you, even if I saw the film 3 times, what is supposed to be happening at the end. The whole story is done using a narrative framing device where someone who is disfigured is being interrogated by a Japanese police officer, and even at the end of the film, it's not clear who that character is supposed to be. And that's not really a spoiler. I just can't tell you. The film is that incompetently made. I couldn't tell you who is being interrogated at all. I have no idea what happened to any of the characters at the end of the film because it's horribly written. And everyone in this film appears to have been given a lobotomy because no one shows any emotion, and people behave in ways that no one would behave in these scenarios in real life. It's literally just because, well, something needs to happen in the film for dramatic purposes. It's just really not very good. It is kind of funny, so I would sort of recommend it for that point of view, and it's only 75 minutes long, as I said, so you're not really wasting too much of your time, but be warned, it's horrendous.
I'm so glad that you forewarned me, because this has just cropped up on Netflix and I had an email about it this morning saying that it's recommended, judging by the films that I've previously watched, and the poster actually makes it look relatively good. But I've just done a quick search and it's got 1-star rating on Rotten Tomatoes and 3.7 out of 10 on IMDb as a general rating, so that does sound incredibly shit. Thanks for the heads up there, Greg.
It's alright.
Coming in at number 3 for me, it's one that Greg's mentioned already. It's Rings by F. Xavier Gutierrez. One that neither of us particularly liked. Again, dull as dishwater, needed to be left alone, does not bring anything to the Ring franchise, and I hated it. Especially that opening scene on the plane where there's like some kind of fucking apocalyptic, shitty storyline that makes it look good, and then, yeah, it's just mediocre horror film like matter. It's just nothing. You're not going to watch this again, you're not going to remember anything from it. They're just using the iconic long black hair over the face and just abusing that until they can't make films anymore, and they need to stop. So yeah, absolutely shit. That's my number 3. Over to you, Greg.
Yeah, I just love how just to rag on Rings a bit more, because it is that shit, how there's a character on a plane that, in theory, you're on a plane, you just turn to a total stranger next to you and say, "Yay, have you heard about that video that makes you kill yourself within 7 days after you watch it?" Yeah, as if that's exactly what you're going to tell a complete stranger sat next to you on a plane. So fucking stupid.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Right. So, getting very, very close to the end now. So, my number 2.
Yeah.
You may be surprised as to what I've picked for my number 2. My number 2 is The Bye Bye Man.
Oh.
By Stacey Title. So it's a female director. Unfortunately, not the best example of a female director that we can find.
Oh, Stacey, what have you done?
Oh dear. Well, made a shit film. So
PG-13 one at that.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned on our mid-year review show, the first 2 or 3 minutes of this is really good. It's a single take shot of Lee Winnell going around to people's houses and shooting people randomly. If they'd submitted that as a short film, it would be one of the best short films I'd ever seen in my life. Unfortunately, there is a plot after that, and it is fucking terrible. It is horrendously stupid. Literally from the point where the opening sort of credits have happened to the end, it is monumentally dumb on a number of levels that I would need hours to go into as to how stupid it is. My favourite, and I use that term loosely, scene in the film is there's a character who apparently has psychic abilities, and what happens is she's in a car with the main character. She sees someone in front of her who, I don't know if they've crashed a car, they need help. She wanders off to help them, not knowing, even though it's fucking obvious, she's wandering into a train track in front of a moving train, and the look that she gives the camera as she sees that the train is going to hit her is so hilarious. I laughed for days and days and days as to how funny that scene was. Honestly, it's just so ridiculous. And just the whole plot, the whole idea that you've got basically this evil kind of creature, man, ghost, whatever the fuck it's supposed to be, and his dog basically coming after these people. We've got a haunted nightstand of all those things, and just the whole don't say it, don't think it thing. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's awful. Awful. Avoid like the plague. Kill it with fire. Basically, it's just, I mean, the film, I say, is shot fairly well, I guess, but honestly, it's so stupid. People behave in so stupid ways in the film. The girlfriend of the main character, she is British, I think, or English in real life, and her accent kept slipping throughout the film, which is hilarious. Yeah, just terrible. And the main character looked like a younger version of Vince Vaughn, except more sort of skittish, I guess.
Agree. Nice rant there, Greg. Agree that it's a terrible movie.
Yeah.
So then it's time for me to reveal my number 2. So coming in at number 2, I have exactly matched what Greg just told you. It's The Bye Bye Man. Also circulating on the internet as a funny parody called The Poo Poo Man, because it's so innately shit. This film scores 4.3 on IMDb out of 10, which is way too generous. I would give it 1 star out of 10. Can't believe it's female directed. Such a shame that it's such a poor film. It's a really bad rip-off of The Candyman, but nowhere near as good. And like Greg says, don't think it, don't say it, don't see it. It's a fucking terrible film. So that's my number 2. Which lead us to both of our number 1 worst film in the bottom 5 horror films for 2017. Dying to know what Greg's chosen. Greg, over to you.
So, you've heard of Hellraiser, but have you heard of a film called Hellraiser?
No, I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it, actually.
Alright. So, my number 1 choice is Hellraiser, directed by Steve Lawson. And this is actually a sequel. So, there's a film that 88 released. It's called The Possession of Annie Dyer, and it's a woman wearing not very much clothing with her arse to the camera. basically, put it that way. So I had to watch The Possession of Annie Dyer just because I laughed so much watching Hellraiser. Unfortunately, it's just very boring. It's kind of a sexploitation film. It's got lots of lesbianism in it. And the lead actress is horrendous. She can't act. She can barely speak English from the sounds of things. Unfortunately, that was disappointing. So, Hellraiser, for those of you who haven't seen the film, which I'm guessing is probably all of you, the story is you've got a detective who is on his beat, sort of looking after the ladies of the night, so to speak, who keep going missing. He gets a new partner who's been sent by their boss to kind of monitor him, who's this sort of young woman. And basically, yeah, these prostitutes keep being murdered in sort of vaguely sort of satanic ways. And it ties into this character called Annie Dyer. I see what they've done there. Where she is being held at a mental institution by this ridiculously stupid, over-the-top. Now, he's clearly German. He's a German doctor who's got a ridiculous name that the detective keeps getting wrong. And that's one of the jokes in the film, is they keep getting the guy's name wrong. Although he says he's European, although he's clearly German. So I don't know why he doesn't just say he's German at some point. But, oh well. This film is ridiculously cheap. It looks like it was made for about £1, and that's being generous. The special effects in this are beyond terrible. So there are scenes where people are being given electroshock therapy, and there are lasers being shot into their head, and they are the fakest looking lasers that you will ever see in your life. It's just so bad. There's, again, you'll love this, an excuse for sort of nudity and lesbian kissing in the film.
God.
Yeah.
So like 1980s.
So cheap. And yeah, I was just in awe. It's been so long since I've seen it that I can't really remember it in enough detail to kind of sell it as to how funny it is, but it's so bad. Like, literally, like, anyone listening to this now could probably make a better film than this. And yeah, it's just so terrible. It's so atrocious. And yeah, it's out there on video on demand if you want to watch it and experience it for yourself. You don't need to see the Possession of Annie Dyer to watch it. As if you'd want
title.
to. Yeah.
Might give that a watch just for a laugh. Sounds absolutely terrible, and I haven't seen that one. So that leads us to my final worst film of 2017 in horror. And it is, I have mentioned it before, I paid £1 to see this at the Rio Beautiful Art Deco Cinema in Dalston. It's Don't Knock Twice by director Caradog W. James. Written by Mark Huckabee and Nick Osler. And as I say, I mentioned this in the first half of our review for 2017. It's absolutely abysmal. It's just the most cliche, boring horror film. The synopsis is a mother desperate to reconnect with her troubled daughter becomes embroiled in the urban legend of a demonic witch. Like, what demonic witch? It's just wishy-washy, middle of the road horror film, boring. All the reviews on this on IMDb, which people have given this a 5.2 star rating, which is way too generous. It also says on IMDb, people who liked this also liked The Bye Bye Man. Yeah, no shit, mate. They're both terrible films, so I can see why they would like that if they liked this film.
Dear.
And someone also says that, like, the refreshing thing about this film is that everything in it has been done before, but they've still managed to make it interesting. But that's exactly what makes this film shit, is that everything in this film has been done before. I did something that I rarely do whilst I'm watching a film at the cinema during this, and I went to the toilet halfway through because I was so bored and I didn't care about missing like 10 minutes. It's not scary. Nothing stands out about it, and it just irritated me. I got a special offer for a £1 special offer cinema ticket for this, and I bought two, one for me and one for a friend, and it's the biggest waste of £2 and like an hour and a half of my life that ever, and such a shame to see it such an amazing cinema and to be so disappointed. So that is my worst film of 2017, Don't Knock Twice.
I don't think it's that bad, personally, but it's not my list, so can't really disagree with you too much.
It's my shit list, and that's my shittest film of 2017, so there we go.